Hello and good morning, students, to today's class of English. Today, we'll be discussing the last chapter, which is a part of your PT1 syllabus. Today being the last stage before the summer vacation. There is no rush when to submit the question and answers of this chapter, but you have your time. I know you all will take a break. But please make sure that before the school opens, this chapter, the question answers are submitted on Google Classroom. Let me take you forward with the chapter. This is the author. His name was Herbert George Wells. He was one of the most pioneer authors of English literature who wrote science fiction. Some of his books, my goodness, they're some of the best. I personally have been a big fan of H.G. Wells. He's called H.G. Wells because of H for Herbert, G for George. Uh, some of his science fiction books are world famous, and they have been famous and have been translated into so many languages. If you ever get an opportunity to read any of his books, make sure you don't miss it. Well, to your left is the cover of the book called The Invisible Man, from which this chapter has been taken up. And to your right is a scene from the movie called The Invisible Man. The movie has been around for many years, and you can see a scene where you have a man who looks like a mummy, whose face is wrapped up with bandage. Well, obviously, because you might have guessed by now that this is a story where a man becomes invisible, and what happens after he becomes invisible, all the actions that happen, that is what makes the story. So this is the basic structure of the story that you have. Let me show you the cover page. Well, yeah. Well, this is Footprints Without Feet. This small extract from the book The Invisible Man has been extracted to your syllabus. It has been titled Footprints Without Feet because there are footprints but there are no feet. This is how the story starts. Initially, the two boys started in surprise at the fresh muddy imprints of a pair of bare feet. What was a barefoot man doing in the steps of a house in the middle of London? And where was the man? This is how the story starts. Two boys find footprints, as if someone has walked on mud and has gone down, but they do not see anyone. All right, because by now, so as the story begins, the person has already become invisible. Moving on, if you can see the highlighted part, it says the explanation of the mystery was really simple enough. The bewildered boys had been following a scientist who had just discovered how to make the human body transparent. Yes, this is the scientist. His name is Griffin. Griffin is a scientist. Griffin found the formula to make the human body as transparent as gas. That's one thing that I did. Number two, this story is also important because of its nature. Unlike what you could have done if you found the formula to become yourself invisible, Griffin was a bit of a crazy person. He was very eccentric. He did the craziest of things. His nature is very eccentric, meaning unconventional and slightly strange. Because of his strange behavior, he did land into a lot of trouble. Alright? Because if you note one thing, that although he found the formula to be invisible, he did not find the formula to become visible back again. And because he was not visible, there was a lot of problem. Number one being actually going to a store and then people seeing that, hey, there are no hands, there is no face. Even you might cover your body with a lot of clothes and a hat, but people would get to know. That is something that really worried and scared him. Anyways, he was first seen by two boys in London, and then later he spent the night in a multi-store. You know what a multi-store is? One of those stores where you can find everything. Eating all the food and then stealing clothes. So Griffin initially had no clothes, but because a part has been omitted from the story, when he actually found the formula, he was very scared. He went all crazy and he ran out of his house, right, just to check. He took off all his clothes and he went out. That's when he got the muddy, footprints, because he wanted to actually go out and see if people can actually see him or not. He wanted to check the invisibility that he had discovered. All right. So obviously, initially he had no clothes. Even he could not get inside his house. So he went inside a multi-store. He put on some clothes. He ate all the food. He stayed the night. He hid in the multi-store all night. And then the next morning when it was opened, he ran. Next morning he ran away and threw away all his clothes. You can see the scene over here. Please make sure that you do read this story. This was one of the scenes running away from the multi-store. And when people saw that they were, because people could see the clothes and the hat and everything, so they tried to catch him. But after running for a while, he took off all his clothes. And the moment he took off all his clothes, he was invisible again. No one could see him. So he left London and went to a place called Epping. It was an outskirts. Griffin rented an apartment in the outskirts of London. His eccentric behavior, as I told you, eccentric meaning unconventional and slightly strange, created a lot of suspicion. One day, the owner of the house came into his room to check. The invisible and naked Griffin chased them away with the legs of a chair pointed towards them. The owner, the husband and the wife, they were so scared because they didn't see anyone. They just saw a flying chair coming towards them. They were sure that the house had a ghost. There was something suspicious. And they also knew that since the time Griffin came, these things had happened. Alright, so we have to imagine the people, the landlord who came in to check Griffin's room, they were chased by a flying chair. Oh my god, that's scary, isn't it? Finally, he ran away. When did he run away? So when he actually chased his, the owner of the house with a chair, they got suspicious. They called the cops. They called the police. The people of Kipping called the cops to arrest Griffin. But when the police came, Griffin publicly took off all his clothes. These are the parts. Please remember, you have to be reading these lines. It's very simple story. So this is the scene when they have called the police and he's taking off all his clothes. Let me read the last paragraph. It's really interesting. Some people tried to help the police, but found themselves hit by blows, punches that seemed to come from nowhere. So people did try to catch Griffin when he was taking off his clothes, but as he was fighting with the other people, he was also taking off his clothes, and eventually people got hit. They got thumped on their faces without knowing. Okay. Ultimately, in the end, Jeffers, the policeman, was knocked unconscious as he made a last attempt to hold on to the unseen scientist. There were nervous, excited cries of "Hold him! Hold him!" But this was easier said than done. Griffin had shaken himself free, and no one knew where to lay hands on him. This is what happened, and eventually ran away and simply vanished. Please note this is only part of the original story. As I told you, the original story is that book. It's a novel. It'll be great if you can read it. Well, moving forward with the questions. They're very simple questions and they are directly from the board previous questions. So please make sure, well, the first question is not, but the others are. But if you answer all the questions, please make sure you answer all of them. Would you like to become invisible? I really want you to think what it's like to become invisible. Write about 2 or 3 points of advantage and 2 or 3 points of disadvantage if you become invisible. Alright, this is a question. This is the first question. If you try to answer this question sincerely, you will understand the story much better. As they gazed, this is a quotation, a remarkable sight met their eyes. A fresh mark appeared from nowhere. Who are they? The boys. Who is making these footprints? Griffin. Extract meaning from the word continuing. Use your vocabulary skills to find the answer. What is the opposite of the word remarkable? That is what something you have to do. Suspicion grew even stronger when he suddenly produced some ready cash. Although he admitted not long before he had no money. So Griffin, when he was renting out, at a certain point in time, he said, I have no money. But then just before he was about to be evicted, he actually stole from someone, from a neighbor, right? And he suddenly gave the money. So they became suspicious. Who is he? Or again, Griffin. Why was he suspected? He was suspected because first he said, I have no money. And then he suddenly had money after there was a stealing incident. Read the story and find out what was the incident. It's a very small incident. Find a word and phrase from the extract meaning the same as money. You'll find it. Synonym of suddenly. I'm sure you can do that. Why did Griffin decide to slip into a big London store? I have literally explained this question, this part at the beginning of my explanation. The answer is simply there. You can rewind back. You can read the story obviously, because please remember this story is from your supplementary reader. Well, this is all that I have for today. 4 simple questions, 1 simple story, 30 minutes of time. That's all you need to give. I hope what I've explained made sense. Please remember, it will only make complete sense once you have read the story. That's all for today. Thanks for being there.